So voilà, welcome everybody. We are here for a match of the group phase for two universities. So this is actually a university from South Africa and one university from Iceland. Together they will have a match on a topic which is nowadays quite important. But of course, first of all, a bit of presentation. So my name is Aurélien Orange. This is a match for the Corax Foundation. And now the floor to Miss Urbanova, my colleague.
Thank you very much. So welcome everyone. This is the last match of the day 2 for the law tournament competition. It's first edition where we welcome the two participating teams. Best of luck to the both participants. We'll support the timekeeping, so we'll be giving notification when there are 30 seconds left and when your time is up. So we would ask the participants to keep the call in the gallery view. And now back to my colleague and then also to introducing the team members.
Yes, indeed. So now the floor is for each of you. Could you introduce yourself to tell, what you're studying, in which year, for example? So, for example, Mr. Ensane.
Thank you. My name is Ofensensane. I am a final year law student in the University of the Free State in South Africa.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Marron.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I'm a law student in a master degree at Reykjavik University. I'm from Belgium, and it's an Erasmus I'm doing here. So nice to meet you, everybody.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ramachoui.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mohadi Kevin Ramatsui. I'm an undergraduate student at the University of Free State. Second year.
Thank you. Welcome. Miss Top.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Dylan. I'm a third-year bachelor law student in Reykjavik University. I'm currently doing an exchange program here. And thank you.
Thank you very much. We have as well the presence in the room for, this match of your coach from Reykjavik. So what we'll do, obviously, is to name the topic you had for this match that you had to prepare during the last 2 days, which is a climate change tax must be agreed between OECD member states. So that was the topic you had to prepare and that you will be debating on. So I will share my screen, so then we'll proceed to the allocation of positions, and so you will see which position you will have during the match. So hop, partager. Voilà. So normally you should see a wheel spinning at this moment, and so you have two chances, so one chance to be in favor, one chance to be against for each university. So let's see now which position you will have concerning this topic. So this is the university in South Africa. The University of the Free State will be in favor for this match. So it means that the University of the Free State will have to defend the position that the climate change tax must be agreed between the OECD member states, and as an opposition, this is Reykjavik University will be against, meaning that Reykjavik University will be defending the position of climate change tax must not be agreed between OECD member states. Voilà, so my colleague is sharing the screen for the 5 minutes of preparation so you can review your notes. And after these 5 minutes, the University of the Free State will start with the opening statement of 4 minutes. So yeah, you have 5 minutes.
Cool.
So, we are now back to start the match. So I will ask everybody indeed to open the camera. So we'll start with the opening statement from the University of the Free State. So now I will give the floor to you, the University of the Free State. You have 4 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you very much. Climate change must be agreed upon the members of the OECD states. The primitive objective of the OECD members is to promote economic development and cooperation through trade. Notwithstanding that, when generation, energy supply, or production of food is proposed to a proximity of air pollutioning the atmospheric layers. The generation of energy involves burning of fossil fuels, releases carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases. Hence, the climate tax will be a good proposal to cap the situation to further escalate from environmental degradation. Thirdly, the climate change tax will play a centrifugal role and a pivotal role in transforming an extraction and production of natural resources, similar to the Glasgow Conference resolution which were taken in COP26, like the decentralization of the energy grid system. So as a global economy, we need a global economic paradigm in order to define and have one common threshold of tax. The introduction of climate change tax will decrease the risk of fisheries and aquaculture via impacts of psychological survivorship, habitat and reproduction disease and species. Prior to the IPCC report on climate change tax, it is evident that 35% of all greenhouse emissions which are made globally are made by human, and it comes from food production. 17.3 billion metric tons of greenhouse gases every year. So climate change tax must be introduced to cap this atmospheric pollution and environmental degradation. Not minding that, it also needs to promote and protect the economy because the multinational companies, they go with maximizing profits and they are adopted by the forces of demand and supply. So the member state must legislate processes in order to deviate and discourage multinational companies to overexploit and overproduct and limit generational, which causes atmospheric pollution. Such may include recycling plastic bottles, recycling tins in order to build eco-friendly environment. Climate change tax will even play a beneficial role in the terrestrial and aquacultural, avoiding wildfires, heavy temperatures, thunderstorms, and severe climate changes. So the sustainable food systems and approaches and food policies ought to be put on practice in order to limit these carbon emissions. The generation of energy and climate change causes an imminent threat to the planet's life. So it is upon us or the members of the OECD to have a similar stances prior to the Kyoto Protocol, a convention in order to cap this climate change in our lifetime. As I close, the OECD must find mechanisms that are eco-friendly and through generation of electricity that equips less emissions, like disease incidences, the water that we drink, the loss of species. and the fisheries and the
Thank you very much. And I would like to give the floor to Reykjavik University for your opening statement. You have 4 minutes.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, dear judges, dear colleagues from South Africa. I'm going here to demonstrate why carbon taxation must not be agreed between the OECD member states, together with my colleague Dylan Top. I would like to start saying that I completely agree with my colleague from South Africa about the very existence of the climate change. However, I strongly disagree with the way to fight it, that are carbon taxation. Indeed, Pascal Saint-Amand, the director of the OECD Center for Tax Policy and Administration, himself said, I quote, "The carbon taxes are unlikely to be the main lever for dealing with climate change." So, as I said, obviously, I'm not denying here the very existence of the climate change, but the alleged efficiency of the carbon taxes to fight it. Firstly, the carbon taxes have simply shown that they do not work, since it is extremely charged, politically speaking. In France, for example, the Yellow Vests movement began from a tax on fuel from President Macron, and in the same way in South Africa, the carbon taxation has caused the loss of 6,800 jobs in the last 2 years and 6,000 per year in the mining sector alone. Secondly, in the actual context in Ukraine, with the explosion of fuel prices through Europe, the focus should be on the use of subsidies rather than on the creation of a new tax, especially in these uncertain times, which Western governments commonly agree, saying that it will probably persist. Consumers are already paying a lot, and adding a tax will only make things worse. While, for instance, 15 EU member states give more subsidies to fossil fuel energies than to renewable energies, that is about 55 to 58 billion per year. So, as I said, the priority should to reallocate subsidies rather than creating a new tax. And as I said, consumers are already paying a lot, making them pay even more for something as simple as taking the car is nothing but a punishment and public interference. The well-known polluter pay principle is not supposed to mean that the consumer pays for the polluting industries, and creating a new tax is not and should not be a priority nowadays. I will just add that in any case, a carbon taxation within the framework of the OECD would be contrary to the competition law, as the climate change is worldwide, and the OECD only counts 38 countries, while, for instance, the IMF counts 190 and the UN 193. The carbon taxation within the framework of the OECD would by itself benefit to companies not bound by the OECD rules and penalize those that are, or worse, make them outsource. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. So now it is time for the first rebuttal. So first rebuttal, it means that the University of the Free State will start, and you have 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. Good day to the esteemed judges, my learned colleagues from Iceland. I would like to start by stating that, as my learned opponent stated that, Pascal stated that a carbon tax is not the effective lever to deal with the carbon emissions. It's not the main lever, but it is a lever which is there to be pulled. Secondly, South Africa has a carbon tax model which was implemented in 2019. It was implemented with the intention to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and to ensure that people who actually use carbon tax the most are the ones who get to pay for the greenhouse gas emissions. My colleagues also stated the loss of jobs in the South African mining sector. There are other factors which influence the loss of jobs in South Africa, as South Africa has a carbon tax legislation. The implementation of the carbon tax legislation was not the main cause of the loss of jobs. There were other economical factors which led to the loss of jobs. It is unfair to make the link between the legislation and the loss of jobs. Thirdly, I'm going to speak about the jurisdiction of the OECD. Granted, it does cover 38 countries, unlike other stakeholders of its sort. But the OECD is known to draft a tax implementation policy which is used throughout the world. So the point of it implementing a tax system is not to bind its stakeholders, but to introduce a tax model and a tax system which will be used as a reference and on a reference basis, so that countries who wish to implement a carbon tax emission system, know which tax structure to follow. And also the efficiency of carbon tax. It is going to be very efficient, and my Lena colleague has stated.
Time is you are over time. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes. Thank you very much.
So now I would like to give the floor for as well the first rebuttal to Reykjavik University. You have 2 minutes.
Yes. I would like to thank my colleagues from South Africa for their statement. However, I must respectfully disagree. So carbon tax is actually a main source of injustice and social injustice in many countries that have implemented it. My colleague from South Africa mentioned that the loss of jobs in South Africa wasn't actually a result of the implementation of the carbon tax, but there were other economic factors. But we can mostly say that this tax didn't help everything, and actually worsened the situation. So we can say that the carbon tax causes social injustice, and it's very harmful to individuals, and in particular to precarious individuals. If we take a very concrete example, someone with a modest income who sees the price of fuel and the price of heating increase because of this carbon tax will have to choose between these two resources, and that should not be a choice today in the 21st century. And this is even more absurd when we know that 10% of the richest companies in the world pay less carbon tax than the most precarious individuals. Moreover, we know that many highly polluting sectors are excluded from paying this carbon tax. My colleague from South Africa mentioned that 35% of the greenhouse gases emissions were a result of the food production. But we can ask ourselves, why the big sectors like the transport sector, the road transport, are excluded from paying this tax, while precarious individuals have to pay it? Why do they have to pay the price to fight climate change? I shall not pass the speaking to my colleagues from the University of the Free State. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. So now we move to the second rebuttals. So I would like to give the floor to the University of the Free State. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. I would like to start the opening by asking a moral question, or give a moral perspective on this matter. Why do we need carbon tax? We're trying to circumvent the growth of greenhouse gases. Is it for short-term profit loss and revenue, or for the long-term preservation of our planet? I would like to also secondly continue to the issue of social injustice on the imposition of climate change. If you look at the advantages of the implementation of carbon tax, we would know that it encourages the investment in sustainable energy and renewable energy. And secondly, carbon tax ensures has a positive impact on the local economy. We are looking at this from it is harmful to individuals. We forget the long-term advantages and benefits of the implementations of carbon tax. We forget that the reason why we are even led to the point that we're going to need a carbon tax in the first place. There are 27 countries in the world who have currently implemented the use of carbon tax, South Africa being one of them. And that's that model is working quite efficiently. And as a law student, I'd also like to raise the issue of universality and particularity. I'm trying to state that it doesn't have to be a universal system. It can be a system which is particular to the country which is being implemented to. We don't have to adopt a universal model of carbon tax. We just have to create a model which can be reformed and be amended per country according to the regulations of that country and needs. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So now the floor is to Reykjavik University for the second rebuttal as well. You have 2 minutes.
I would like to thank my colleague from the University of the Free State for their argument. However, I must once again respectfully disagree. So my colleague said that the carbon tax doesn't have to be a universal system. But like I said earlier, I must raise this question once again. Like, because of the fact that this is not a universal system, many sectors are actually excluded from paying this tax, because that would make them vulnerable to international competition. And this is the mainly polluting sectors, like the road transport or any maritime transport. They're excluded from paying this carbon tax, but actually they are the one who pollute the most. So, and once again, also the carbon tax causes many social disparities in the different countries that have implemented it. We can take the example of France, with the carbon tax who has led to the notorious movement of the yellow vests, a movement who has actually divided the population. And this is also the case in Germany, where the eco tax had led to violent demonstrations across the country. And once again, this tax highlights the social inequalities across countries. In theory, this tax is set up to change in order to change mentalities, to change behaviors, but it's supposed to encourage people to invest and to turn to renewable energies and to greener modes of transportation. But in reality, we realize that all of these alternatives are actually reserved for the richest classes, who can afford to turn to greener modes of transportation, who can afford to turn to electric cars. But this is not the case for the working classes. So actually the weight of the carbon tax is put on the working class and on the precarious individuals. And it's for all of these reasons that we think that carbon tax is not an effective solution against climate change. I shall now pass the speaking to my colleague from the University of the Free State. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. So now we move to the conclusions. So indeed, this is the turn for University of the Free State to give the conclusion. You have 2 minutes.
No, thank you very much. At the peripheral level, I just want to make an emphasis that the introduction of carbon tax will play a pivotal role, and we also need to usher in a corporate tax in these multinational companies, who are the ones who are responsible in polluting our atmospheric layers. So we need to usher in sustainable food systems and energy policy, generation policies that will limit the less emissions of greenhouse gases. My sister Dylan, as I was making that 35% scenario, I was trying to create an impression and impress an impression on you that the food production, it is the major one that contributes to greenhouse gases. So it is the most carbon footprint area that needs special attention to be dealt with. The other ones of the railways and transportation sector, we all know that the burning of fossil fuels and the extraction of the mineral resources and the production of these resources, the carbon tax actually tries to discourage the levels of extraction, of production and generation, through coming with sustainable approaches such as technological systems of the similar one of Glasgow Conference of COP26, which says it wants to decentralize the energy grid system. We might as well decentralize the energy grid system in order to save the marine biodiversity, the fisheries, the psychological and other disease incidences. So the consumers are paying more taxes. I do not see whether it is correct really for subsidies. It is ironic to subsidize them. They ought to pay corporate tax in order for us to keep this climate to stop the environmental degradation to escalate any further. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now we'll give the floor as well for the conclusion to Reykjavik University. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. So I note that my colleagues from South Africa admitted in a certain way that the tax was not a solution by itself, but that it had to be applied together with other measures. And it is actually never applied effectively. Moreover, the implementation of the carbon taxation in the OECD framework would not help to make it more effective. And I would like to summarize the reasons developed by myself and by Dylan Top, namely that the OECD official himself said that the carbon taxation was not the solution to fight against the climate change. It causes huge social movements, as in France, and great social insecurity with the loss of a lot of jobs, as in South Africa. Besides that, other solutions do exist, as we reallocate fossil subsidies to greener solutions, and they have the advantage of not burden the climate change to the consumers, especially in the current context in Ukraine and based on the inflations it causes. In any case, as I said, the OECD is not at all a suitable framework for the taxation regarding the competition issues that it will create. And the price to pay is tremendous, and we do not want to create more injustice and social disparity around the world than there is already. That's, however, what the carbon tax does. For all that reasons, we kindly ask you to hold in favor of our position. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. So this is the end of this debate, so now you can relax. You are not anymore in assessment, let's say, by the judge. So as indeed, just to tell again, you will have 3 judges and will be watching this match, and will give you, for each team, their assessment. So let's get some feedback from yourself as well on what you think about the performance in general for both teams, and as well yes, you want to tell something, Mr. Hansane?
Yes, no, I just wanted to thank the University of Iceland for the postponement which was granted on, is it Saturday? Yeah, it was Saturday. Yeah, I just would like to extend that gratitude. Thank you guys. We are deeply and truly grateful for that postponement.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's really done with pleasure.
So maybe we can start with you, Mr. Hansane. What did you think about your own performance and your team and the other team? We don't hear you, Mr. Hansane. Your microphone? Yeah, we don't.
Apologies.
Yes.
I pressed the unmute button and it didn't go through. I'm saying that it was quite enlightening, especially the against side, especially when you have to prepare for both angles. You get to realize that the team that got the against had their backs against the wall, and they had quite a tougher mountain or an extra step which they had to travel, because you could see as you are preparing as to which side. But my teammate performed well above expectations. It was great, amazing, and also the opponents. We got, and the time. We would like to thank everyone who made this time possible, and again, as closing, like to say thank you to the University of, I really can't pronounce the name. I've been trying. How do you pronounce it?
It's Reykjavik.
Reykjavik.
Yeah.
Yeah, to the University of Reykjavik. Apologies for mispronunciation.
Don't worry.
And thank you again, guys. It was a pleasure and an honor.
Thank you very much. Then, Mr. Marron, what did you think then?
I would like to thank my teammates from South Africa as well, and the organizers. Actually, I can't really pronounce Reykjavik neither because I'm not from Iceland, but I'm trying. And yeah, I think the match was great, and yeah, I feel no trouble about doing it today instead of Saturday, so don't worry about that. And yeah, it was great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Ramatsui.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to register my apologies to what transpired last week Saturday. I contracted minor coronavirus symptoms, but once again, I'm feeling much better right now. I'd like to thank for this second opportunity for the host and the co-host and my opposition. Thirdly, as young activists, I think we need to register predominantly to try and change this climate change system that is happening at our disposal in our generation, partly due to the fact that it is a threat to our planet's life, and we have lack of the young representative in international governmental organization who will speak about these issues pertaining to our sustainability and our future. So, as having said that, I would like to thank the opposition for a fruitful event and a fruitful debate that they gave us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So now, Miss Top.
Yes, yeah, I would also like to thank my colleagues from the University of the Free State. It was so interesting to see their arguments, and I think they have, especially the rebuttals, like it's so interesting to see your direct reaction on everything we actually said. So yeah, really interesting, and yeah, I think it was a really good subject in the actual context, and yeah, it's really urgent that we take measures against climate change. So yeah, really interesting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Of course, we give the floor to the coach, who will tell properly the name of the city in Iceland. So, Sniolog.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I was muted enough, yeah. Thank you. So, Reykjavik University, just to have that cleared up. But I really thought this was such a joy to witness. Really, such a good dialogue back and forth. Like Dylan also mentioned, they seemed so responsive. You all were. I was really impressed. It was a great conversation, proper debate. So I think we can all learn a lot from this match, and I congratulate all of the students for their performance.
Thank you very much. So yes, I would like to tell congratulations to all of you. You did an amazing work, that's for sure. And another question I have for both teams.
We can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me? No, you can hear me now. No, I am here.
Yes. Sorry, it was me. Sorry.
Okay. Yes. So I was saying congratulations to both teams. And I have just one question. What is the temperature currently in South Africa at this moment? Mr. Ansane, or because you are in a winter period? No,
we are in the transition to the winter period. The temperature currently is 19 degrees.
Oh, 19 degrees, almost like here. No, I'm kidding. And in Iceland?
And here it's 1 degree, and the feeling temperature is -4.
And you have a snow at this moment? Oh, no.
It snowed like 2 days ago, but not so much. Yeah.
Okay. Does it snow sometime in Bloemfontein, in South Africa?
It barely snows.
And Bloemfontein.
Yes. Sorry, we don't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, now, yes.
Yeah, I'm just saying in Bloemfontein, it barely snows. In South Africa as a whole, we are not accustomed to snow. I think I can count on one hand the amount of times I've seen snow in my life. We barely receive snow this parts of the world.
Okay.
Like it's a special occasion when it snows. Maybe once after 5 years or 4.
Okay, it's good to know. Okay, so yes, on my side it's fine. It was a great match. Maybe Mr. Urbanova?
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you both teams and congratulations. Well done on the research and implementation of what you prepared. Really, it's such a short time, but you were able to present your arguments well. Perhaps I would just, from the side of organizers, a little backstage information prior to the newsletter. You'll be able to meet each other also outside of the match format. Towards the end of April, we are organizing our first major company networking event. So keep an eye out on the newsletter and sign up for the spots. So you would be able also to meet and discuss further.
Yes, you will be able to meet all the teams, not just those of your group, but all those who are participating to the competition currently. So thank you to all of you. So you will receive, during the next 2 days, the results from the free judge by May. And obviously, we are looking forward to hear you, of course, in the next stage, in the next rounds. Okay? So yes, Mr. Anthony.
Now, I just quickly wanted. I just quickly wanted to inquire about that possible meet scenario and find out more details if they are available. Are they available? Can I inquire maybe about that? Is there a date? Are there possible scholarships for application in terms of travel? Those kind of logistics, if I can inquire about them, if it's possible.
Yes, thank you for your question. The event, because the competition is virtual in this edition, is virtual as well. We are usually using Gather platforms. So if you participated in the workshop events, you might be already familiar with it. We'll send in the newsletter email of April, which will be, I believe, this week or early next week, details a sign-up form where you can also vote for which hour. So we can see how to accommodate all the time zones that are currently present for the students in the competition. And because it's virtual, no travel scholarships this year. Hopefully next year that would be a possibility where we can also welcome everyone in The Hague or perhaps coordinate between universities for people to travel.
Yes. So we are still in a special year, as you know, so that's why we have to do a lot of things online. But obviously, we hope as soon as possible that we can meet as well in person. And obviously, it's not just because there is a competition. You can, of course, visit The Hague and visit as well other locations. So, but soon, yes, we'll try to make sure that it comes in more and more in person. Yeah. So thanks again to everybody. Thanks in the north of Europe and in the south of South Africa, and of course we keep in touch for the next rounds. Thank you again. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Thank you. Well done, everyone.
Well done.
Bye.